Hello, James Rink here. It is Thursday, April 26, 2018. And today we have two special guests, although only one is with me right now, Adrian Espinoza. Now, Adrian, you've done some channeling in the past. I know for people that have actually familiar, before I bring you in, you've actually channeled Michael Jackson. We also did John F. Kennedy, and of course, there were a few more that we haven't published yet. So why don't you do a little brief introduction about yourself?
Well, my name is Adrian, and of course, I'm always on James Rink's show, and he's invited me on, and I've done a lot of channeling for James, and I've also been on the show of Peter the Insider, as everybody knows, and it's been a really interesting experiences that we've had for the last few months. Things have really changed, and there were some things that me and James wanted to channel and share information on some of the things that we've gathered having to do with clones and super soldiers, and maybe some updates of things that they might want to speak out, or messages that other people might want to ask questions. Also, as everybody knows, I'm also helping people with their Milabs files for people that want to have a session with me, and also with the deprogramming software that I have. Everybody seems to really like that and enjoy that. And also, I've been helping James to promote his NeoCubes, and anybody's interested in that, I think it'd be really interesting. And so we'll see what comes out. And with the channeling, Michael Jackson was a really cool project to work on. I'm hoping we can do some more shows further down the future for the Michael Jackson fans and get more information on that. And also with, we did John F. Kennedy, and we found a lot of information from John F. Kennedy and information from that. So those who wanted to ask more questions about John F. Kennedy, and a lot of people believe, I guess they said that he's not dead, and a lot of people believe that he was cloned. So we were kind of giving a little bit of different types of information on his clone and information that he was talking about before. So yeah, Michael Jackson looks very forward to some of our upcoming shows. And today I just figured we'd probably do some shows on the super soldiers. So we were going to channel Lincoln Clay, and then we were going to do some one of James's clones. To see what comes up in the channel and the read. So is there any questions you have, James?
Yeah, why don't you give people your website?
Okay, so if you want to contact me for a session, my website is www.forceversuspower.com.
All right, and my website is for the NeoCube is neologicaltech.com. Of course, all that information is going to be at the end of the show. I don't want to bore people with too many details. So let's go ahead and begin. Now, first of all, why don't we start with a little background information about Lincoln Clay? What do we know about him already? That would, I mean, I guess I can go ahead and chime in. So apparently Lincoln Clay was in World War II. He was a soldier that was the top of his class, so good that they actually cloned him. And I'm not sorry. Well, they probably did clone him, actually. I'm hoping I'm not gonna say anything here that's incorrect. But he is. What I meant to say is that they re-aged him. So he is still alive and busy doing work for Milabs. Apparently, he's like the head honcho of this super soldier clone army, according to Peter, anyway. Of course, Peter the Insider has been on the show numerous times. He works at the ACIO, and he could probably explain a little bit more background about him, but we have talked about him on different shows. Now, Lincoln Clay has been featured in a video game series. Do you happen to know the name of the video game series he's in, Adrian?
I can't think at the top of my head with Lincoln Clay. But I do know what you're talking about. He was definitely in several video games. And it's interesting because Anthony brought that up. And Anthony Zender's been on our show before, by the way. Just let everyone know he may be coming on. We're hoping he'd come on. And he was talking about how he was interacting with some of these super soldiers that were on different types of video games. So that's kind of interesting.
Yeah. So Mafia 3.
That's what
I
it
get.
was.
I guess there's probably other mafias as well, but I don't really know much about that series. But according to this, he was born in January 1945. Now, I know this is a video game, so there's probably some of this is fictionalized. I think this is fictionalized because I thought he was in World War II. How could he be born in 45? Well, let's bring him in. I don't want to say anything inaccurate here. So, Adrian, why don't you? First of all, why don't you tell the audience members how you're going to communicate with this guy?
Well, James invested in an angel board for me, and I've been using my angel board for quite some time now, actually helping people to connect with those on the other side. I've been psychic up since I was about 16 years old. I've been able to see the spirits, connect with people on the other side, and even family members. I'll just tell one experience where I was at the bar, and I actually walk up to a girl, and I actually told her about her mother that passed away. And her mother came through the bell, and I briefly described the name of the mother, the name of the father, and some other friends, relatives that were connected to that connection. And she just automatically just went into an emotional shock. So sometimes these things could happen, you know, when the connection comes in, and I've done it to Uber drivers, people, just random strangers that I've talked to. But I'm going to be using the board to connect with Link and Clay. We have been able to connect with other super soldiers and cyborgs. So.
Go ahead and do your thing.
Okay, we'll go ahead and connect with Link and Clay right now. So it looks like Link and Clay is present with us. He says, I am present.
Hello, Lincoln.
He says, may I ask who I'm speaking with? Or we're speaking with Adrian and James. He says, James says hello.
Hi.
Lincoln says yes. He says, I know James very well. I also know Peter the Insider very well. He says, I take it that I have been on James's show before, and I have been watching. So he's present right now.
Do you reside in an underground base where you pretty much live there, or do you have a house on civilian life, in your civilian life?
He says, it's a matter of fact, yes, I do. I have several homes and several different islands that I work on, and different types of underground bases, and projects that I work with as well.
Yeah. About a year and a half ago, somebody resembling your appearance appeared to me. He was dressed in a sheriff uniform. Would that happen to have been you by any chance?
He said, yes, it was me.
Okay. And what was the point of doing that other than saying, I guess, visiting me? You didn't really say anything. Of course, I guess you said hi.
He says, it was a matter of security purposes. He says that he had to make sure that you were okay. Like, he keeps bringing up protection. So.
Oh, okay. Well, I didn't feel any threats. I was at the grocery store, which is an unusual thing to think that I would be in danger, unless there's something that I wasn't aware of. Maybe someone's trying to do a hit on me in the grocery store. I don't think that would.
He says there was something going on there. There was basically a Nazi spy.
What, there was a Nazi following me around?
Yes.
Okay. Well, speaking of the Nazis, did you happen to have spend time in World War II?
He said, yes, I did.
Okay,
And
Go
I
ahead.
was actually the commander-in-chief and leader back in World War II. There was a lot going on there and a lot of chemical weapons that were being used. Also, he said that we were also instigating new technologies. They were building new bases at the time, and he was trying to stop a lot of these different types of bases and different projects that were going on. But there was a lot of chemical stuff going on, something to do with chemicals
All right.
and weapons. He said there was also confiscating a lot of weapons from the Nazis.
All right. Well, could we maybe start with a little bit of timeline about your history and your background? Maybe we'll start with what year were you born?
I was born in 1988. 1988 comes up.
Well, according to Peter, you've been re-aged multiple times. How do you figure you've been born in 1988?
He says they change me out frequently. He says, as you know, I'm also AI. I'm cyborg. But for some reason, they recycled him and they changed him out multiple times. All I remember was back when he was younger, being born in 1988.
Oh, so your memories go back to 88, but you don't really know.
He said, yeah, that's correct.
Well, what about these video game wiki? It claims you were born in January 1945. Is any of that information accurate? Is that all fictional? And this Mafia 3.
He said a lot of this was fictional scripting, AI scripting that they made of me. They also tried to make me look like I was a bad guy, and that the agencies were trying to catch me as a terrorist.
Yeah, it says you're a Vietnam War veteran who tried to start his own criminal empire. So that's not the case.
He said, no, that's not accurate.
Okay. And were you in the U.S. Army?
He said, now that part is accurate, yes.
And did you spend time in Vietnam?
Yes.
Okay. How can you explain that when you were born in 1988?
He said, I don't know. All I know is that when they rechanged me back in 1988, they have put me in a lot of different types of timelines. But all I remember is 1988, but I was in Vietnam. I was in World War II. And I do remember bits and pieces of things that have happened. But as most cyborgs or super soldiers, I am still under their control of the agencies. So, but they have discredited me, and they have made me look like I'm a bad guy. But I'm actually a really good guy. I'm a superhero to protect against the Nazis, or as you call Dark Fleet.
Right. Okay. Thank you for sharing that. So I'm assuming there might be some time travel component going on here.
Yes, he says, yes, I do time travel too.
And how did you get involved with Milabs? How did it begin?
How did I get involved in the Milabs?
Yeah.
The agencies found me. some were trying to buy me off or pay me off, but I refused to follow their functions and commands. And then they basically blanked my mind. Again, that's how they normally do it. They always blank your mind. I do remember the M.I.Bs. They used a flasher thing on me, and they basically wiped my mind. And I woke up in Milabs, is what he's saying.
Mm. Did you actually join the military first and go on that trajectory, or did they put you in my labs and threw you in the military?
He said, believe it or not, they forced me to work into the military. I believed that I was in the military, but I was not in the military at the time. And then they kind of forced me to work into the military. And then they turned me into a cyborg. And parts of me is AI. Sometimes I don't know if I'm human or if I'm cyborg, is what he says.
What does it mean to be a cyborg?
Cyborg is usually like half human, half robot. And they somehow they took a brain of a robot and they interface it with a human brain. And they don't know from reality, from this reality, and from what is real and what is not, because they're still hooked up to AI. They're still hooked up to a computer. So whatever they see, they don't know if it's from a computer or if it's actually from reality. So they're kind of in both kind of different types of worlds. And sometimes they don't always remember when they were born or why they were in the Milabs. And if they didn't understand something or they didn't follow something, then they would put them in a project like you say, Project Abandonment, sort of like what they did with you. And they want to know why they didn't function, why they didn't follow the commands, why they're not following, order when they tell them to go out and they do a mission such as, assassinating someone or killing someone or as a super soldier, to follow their commands. But he was using a lot of it in the military because they were like he was like their secret weapon. So.
Right. Well, what about as far as implants are considered? Do they actually take out his brain and put some kind of data byte processing unit in there or something, or how does that actually work? They augment it, half human, half.
He said, my understanding, that's what they did to me. And a lot of them was augmented. I was in multiple different types of projects. I was also in a project called Project Linear. Have you heard of that?
No. What is that?
Project Linear was some type of project where they used me in a side project, and it had to do with how my functions would work to interface with AI. And sometimes they'd even use me in time travel as well.
How did you get to be in charge of this super soldier army?
Project Linear is the ones that created my commands as basically the leader of the different types of cyborgs, super soldiers, and even the Nazis, that I would be basically their leader. And the reason why they used me as a black person, because we were the fastest, we were the strongest. So they appointed me as the commander and the chief. And I was promoted that way. And that was just part of my programming. It wasn't just something that I wanted to do, is what he said.
And what's the name of the organization that you work for?
Project Camelot.
Well, that's a YouTube station. What? I don't understand. What do you mean by Project Camelot?
That's the name of the organization. That Project Camelot and Project Linear comes up to me.
All right. But who controls these groups? Who's in charge of them?
The Enlightened Ones.
The Enlightened Ones?
Yeah.
Who are they?
The Illuminati.
Oh. So you work for the Illuminati?
Yes.
Is that a bad or good thing?
He said it's a bad thing because I was forced to work in these projects and under these other organizations. There is some information on Project Camelot that you can look at. I don't know if there's any information on Project Linear, but Project Linear was also working off-world with other off-world beings and cyborgs and super soldiers. I was training them teach them how to time travel, how to jump through wormholes. He also says that he's also worked with a lot with AI too as well, and other parallel realities.
Right.
Every AI is different in every parallel reality is what he's saying.
Okay, so do you have any other messages for the audience members?
He said that he noticed that you've been talking to one of his soldiers.
Well, a few of them, but which one in particular?
He said Sargent Crow.
Yeah. Do you want to share more information about that?
Okay, so he's saying that he used to be on a lot of missions in Project Linear with Sargent Crow. Sargent Crow is also a secret weapon that they use in assassination projects and Project Dark Pawn and Project Umbrella. They used him in that as well for assassination purposes. Mainly people that have been digging into their technologies, I guess.
So you're saying that Crow is a hitman?
That's correct, yes. But he's
And
also a cowboy.
yes, Captain Crow, I guess you'd call him Sergeant Crow. He said that he was a cop, or really he was a captain in the police force. And he died and he woke up in Milabs. Why would a police officer, a former police officer, do jobs as doing hits? That doesn't seem like something that would normally do.
Well, actually, he was in the police force, but he was also like a double agent. He had double agent combat training, police force training, and sniper training, from what he's telling me. We put him in multiple different types of projects when we reprogrammed him. That's what Lincoln Clay's telling me.
So is he like the original RoboCop?
Yes, that's correct.
Can you describe the appearance of Sergeant Crow?
Yeah, Sergeant Crow almost looks like when he's in that alter state, clone alter state, he almost looks like his face is like a skeleton. And he carries two weapons, two guns that are on the side of his belt buckle. He's very tall, very thin, very tall, very thin. Almost looks as tall as an avatar. He has the strength of an avatar. He can run as fast as an avatar. He can also climb walls. From my own understanding, from what Lincoln Clay's telling me, he can also he never misses a shot, and definitely a wonderful, very fast sniper. He's actually one of my best snipers, is what Lincoln Clay's telling me.
And where do you guys reside? I guess maybe start with Sergeant Crow. Where is he currently?
Where is he currently right now?
Yeah.
He says we have him off on a mission right now in Costa Rica comes to my mind. I don't know why that comes to my mind.
Because if he has this skeleton-like face and somebody sees him, I mean, they're going to clearly tell this is not a normal person.
He has the ability to shapeshift, but he also has the ability to show his actual true form. And when he shows his true form, some people that he's assassinating or that he's going after don't really know how to take him. They think he's like some type of demon or something.
All right, so I guess they use that as an advantage in the battlefield.
Yes, and he can also jump through wormholes as well. Time travel, stargates.
All right. So, anything else you want to mention about Sergeant Crow at this time?
So, Sergeant Crow is a very top secret secret weapon, and we normally don't use him in a lot of our projects. But when he is needed, we will actually activate his command, and I am in contact. I am the head of the one who they communicate through the operator. I trained all my super soldiers, and they're all very, very powerful super soldiers. But we try to do what is best for the good of humanity. A lot of them, the insiders and the people that are part of these agencies or projects, don't know that I am actually very aware of what's going on. And I am also helping the super soldiers to actually fully integrate and to get back to where they were. That is my whole plan, my whole agenda. I have good intentions, and I really want to help humanity.
Okay, so is that Lincoln Clay talking or Sergeant Crow?
That's Lincoln Clay talking.
Okay. Do you happen to know the name of Sergeant Crow's civilian name when he was still alive, when he was a captain in the police force?
His real name?
Yeah.
Now, I know Captain Howdy, but Captain Crow was named like going to Robert Kelly, something like that.
All right, we'll have to do some investigating on that. Captain
Yeah.
Robert Kelly.
Yeah.
Okay, well, maybe we can find some information on Google. I'll check, but
He was a sheriff.
a sheriff. Oh, he wasn't a captain?
Yeah, he was a captain in the police force, but also a sheriff.
Do you know what year he was killed? Allegedly, he was killed.
Lincoln Clay says he doesn't know for some reason.
Okay. Can we talk a little bit more about this mission in Slovakia? Because I know our other guest,
Okay.
Anthony Zinder was supposed to join us, and he forgot to bring his battery for his laptop. Of all the planning that we've done to get him on here, and then he forgot one small thing, so obviously it was a big thing. But Peter had informed him that there was a mission where they rescue these children from underground dump in Slovakia, and apparently I was on that mission as well. And so, Lincoln, can you explain a little bit more about what happened?
Okay. Explain to me the details of what. Try to help me to remember is what he said.
In this particular mission, there was a Monarch base where they were injecting these children with cortexiphan to, which is like a steroid to enhance their abilities, but they were highly addicted. So after, I guess they had some super soldiers go down there and rescue them. They were also opening up portals, allowing Nazis from the other parallel reality where the Nazis won the war to come through in this facility. But they, I guess, were able to help these children with the cortexiphan addiction afterward. But apparently, some of these, I guess I say children, they're actually adults, but I'm assuming there were some children there too. But there was about 50 people rescued. Maxine Caulfield, Victoria Chase, and there was a few. I don't have all the names in front of me. Peter has mentioned it. I'm sure I could probably find the name. Well, I'm not on this computer. But
Were these the people that would you say that work with Lincoln Clay or in these projects?
Well, they worked with Monarch. They were Monarch operatives. They were forced to work for them, and so they sent a team of super soldiers in there to rescue them.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Now, did Lincoln Clay? I'm feeling like a little bit of hostility there, like with Lincoln Clay. Now? Were these some of the people that maybe he was off on the mission to investigate with these people, or?
Well, they sent a team of super soldiers in there to rescue them. Was Lincoln Clay on that mission?
Yeah, that's what I'm picking up. Yes, maybe that's the hostility is the people they were holding them hostage or something.
Yeah, but how come he doesn't remember that? It only happened like a month ago.
And so they rewiped his memories. The reason why he doesn't know about Crow, it just came to me. The reason why he don't remember is because when they appointed him to be the commander or whatever at that time, new super soldiers come in all the time and they don't really give him the information. They just tell him what to do, and he carries out the orders of what the agencies want.
So he pretty much does whatever his operators program him for.
That's what's going on.
And how do you feel about that?
He says he doesn't like it. And he sees it with Crow all the time and other super soldiers. He's trying to actually put a stop to it, and that's why he said, I'm very aware of what's going on. And they put me in a very high position to go in and rescue some of these super soldiers because a lot of them have a lot of great abilities that they could use in several, if not million, different types of projects. So, and especially Project Camelot.
Well, when we talked to Crow, I guess I'll go ahead and mention it. He said that in 1986, my avatar rebelled, didn't follow out orders like he was programmed to. And so then they put him into Project Abandonment and then attempted to reprogram him. And at that point, they started dismantling most of my abilities, I guess, in my civilian form. So that, according to Crow, I only have 4% of what I'm supposed to have. Are you concerned that they may try to do the same thing to you if you were tried to rebel?
He said yes. And I'm also very concerned that if I did do that, then my plans for humanity and super soldiers would be lost. And at that point, I really wouldn't know what to do. I have appointed other super soldiers, and this is a little bit on the secret side, but I have appointed other super soldiers and warned them of this, so that way, if this anything ever happened or I come up missing, they would continue the work.
Yeah. Well, I mean, just by talking about it publicly, I'm sure your controllers, because apparently there's a layer of handlers and there's controllers over them. I mean, they probably know that you're not happy with what they do.
He said, "Yeah, they do know. They're just waiting for me to act. It's just if I walk that fine line, then they'll basically they'll disassemble me, you know."
Mhm.
So, but he is carrying out his orders. He's doing really well. He knows there's going to come a time where super soldiers will reunite, and that we will become the heroes, and that'll be into the new world, is what he said. As far right now, we don't want to cause any kind of calamities with the timelines or combustions. So we have to keep things on the down low for right now. But as far as I do know for a fact that things in the future are soon about to change in the new recession, is what he said.
Okay, and Lincoln, do you happen to have any memories of working with Sabretooth?
He said, "Yeah, I do. Specifically, one we did a mission in Alaska together, and there was multiple super soldiers with me at the time. Um, we went to basically to destroy something. It was an AI that was trying to cause a lot of weather disturbances, is what he said. Almost like HARP, he said.
Right. Um, can you describe? Maybe we just start with something basic. What was? By the way, Sabretooth apparently is what I turn into.
Mm-hmm.
Is that actually like a clone avatar where I project my consciousness into this being, or is this actually me shape-shifting into this entity? My physical vessel shape-shifts.
He says it's actually you shape shifting.
But how is that possible? Because I don't recall any missing time. I've been, as far as I'm aware, I've been here living my civilian life. How am I going off doing all these missions?
He said they take you when you're unconscious, specifically when you're asleep. He said, "Do you remember anything about waking up somewhere and you don't know where you're at or anything like that?"
Well, I remember waking up one time hearing somebody say "turn around," and I feel like this electric, like electroshock type feeling. And I open my eyes and I'm in my
Mm-hmm.
bed. I remember another time when my covers pulled off my bed. I mean, it could be like a cool day, night, maybe in the month of March or something, and there's no way I could sleep without the covers pulled off my bed with just nothing on. Or I could be sleeping opposite, and I don't know why they would not even bother to put me on my pillow. So I mean, of course, there's the needle marks and the cut marks, but they don't always occur when I'm sleeping. It's usually any time of the day.
Yeah, they have to inject you with certain types of medications so that you'll mutate, and then go
So
back to your human form.
Can you explain the actual shape-shifting process? So let's say they pull us out, because it's not just me. There's a lot of people that probably go in similar experiences. How do they actually pull us out of our homes?
He said they use time portal technology. And when they inject you with those different types of medicines, like some medicines they can get from like Project Umbrella, or they can get some medicines from Project Monarch, or even sometimes Project Montauk. Depending what they're going to use you for and what specifically they're going to use you for, and then they'll teleport you to that base, and then they'll put you in this biomechanic shaped. It looks like a cube. I don't know. He's talking about a cube. They'll put you in this device, and then the device basically makes your body shapeshift. So like your arms will start to get stronger, your legs will start to get stronger. The medicine prevents the pain that you might feel, but where you're unconscious, you don't feel anything. Your body just starts to shapeshift in that cube.
All right. So what is the name of this cube? What do they call this technology?
They call it the 13 cube.
All right. And does he have any information on how that thing actually works?
The way the cube works is it works off of crystals. It also works off of AI. They have it hooked up to crystals. And sometimes the crystals helps to enhance the quantum frequencies that enables you to actually, your body to grow within those medications or drugs that they put in your DNA. He says, I don't know exactly how it was invented, but they call it the 13 cube. It almost looks like a pyramid to me, but every cube is different. They have the 13 cube, they have the 12 cube. It just depends on, he's saying it depends on what your DNA can take in those cubes, I guess. Like, are you compatible with that cube, and how you click with that. They want
what?
They're experimenting on people to see how they're going to take the reaction.
And so theoretically, not everybody could go through this process, but a lot of people could.
A lot of people could, yes, if they have the right DNA.
And what is the DNA that they're looking for? How do they know? Besides looking at the DNA, is there any physical traits of people that they look for?
Okay, he said, so a lot of people they use in these projects like Project Camelot and Project Linear, they use a lot of black people. So different traits, different nationalities, different types of genetic blood that runs in the family is kind of what they're looking for. Like if you come from a monarch family, or you come from a Montauk family, or you may even come from a family of the royalty, like Rothschilds. Just depends on the blood that can be manipulated, which we've already talked about that with Peter. He's saying different types of blood that can be manipulated, and some blood that cannot be manipulated or even work in the cube. So it could actually kill you if it's not set right, is what he's saying, in a way.
Mm-hmm. Are you familiar with the formula called compound C?
He said, no, I'm not.
It's made from a mushroom from inner Earth that is bioluminescent, and it allows for shape-shifting to take place if you have certain type of DNA. Usually it's toxic or poisonous.
He said, that's interesting. He said they use a lot of this stuff in laboratories and also Milabs, from my understanding is what he's saying.
Is there a way you could smuggle some out of the facility and maybe give us a vial of it?
He said yes. There are multiple different types of facilities, like Dark Pond. He said I'm pretty sure would probably carry something like that. Project Dulce, cloning facilities always have those types of modifications, is what he's saying.
Okay. Well, let's go back to the shape-shifting process. So after this metamorphosis, what do they actually call the metamorphosis process? Do they have a certain term for it?
He says metamorphosis when you're talking about shape-shifting.
Yeah. What do they actually call it?
Hmm. That's weird. It's like bringing up mob, whatever that means.
M.O.B?
Yeah, M.O.B. Mob.
Oh, is that an acronym for something else?
Yeah,
Can
I've
you
never heard of that.
can you explain what that acronym is?
He says that's another term for metamorphosis um, to basically cause transmutation or to transmute humans or people that we're trying to. It's a project, is what he said. We call it mob.
I do want to mention that the reptilians call shape-shifting transmorphing. Just to throw that out there. But would there happen to be reptilians in the same facility around this 13 cube?
He's saying yes.
Scientists.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. Are there any reptilian scientists that would be willing to communicate with us who feel sympathetic to our situation and be willing to perhaps give us information?
He said none that I'm aware of. Um, and the reason for that is because a lot of them have been infiltrated and they work within the agencies. They also are controlled and they're also being told how to make some of these mutations as well. Specifically in Milabs, different types of Milabs.
Would there could you confirm a yes or no? I guess are there actual reptilians in white lab coats that sit on their tail when they work on a computer? Is this type of situation along with human personnel, which are probably actually shape-shifted reptilians? Maybe is that accurately described? Situation.
He said, you're very smart. He says, yes, that is how they describe it.
Okay, yeah, because I've communicated to some of these beings in regressions, and they treat you like you're a toy. They don't view you as a person.
He said, yeah, that's very accurate.
Yeah, there actually been a few that have. Usually they get kicked out of the program. Okay. All right, so let's go on here. So the next step is, so after this M.O.B. process takes place, what happens to the actual person? Do they suddenly look down and they see huge muscles and they're taller or whatever? Maybe.
He says, if you look in the mirror and you see your body laying there, it's almost like an out-of-body experience. You just see your body growing, sometimes tall, sometimes a lot of muscle. And then you look in the mirror and you're just like, wow, is this really me? You're still kind of conscious, but yet you're not conscious, but yet you have to follow certain types of commands depending on if you're a clone or you're a cyborg. Now, cyborgs are a little bit more different because they're artificially made. And I've seen people have actually been artificially made where they have actually took the cyborg of a brain and actually interface it with a human. We were talking about that earlier. And then they inject them with certain types of serums, just like some of the pictures that you've posted on some of your videos. is very close and very, actually the way you describe it is actually very accurate.
Okay. Are you still able to see my screen?
Yes.
All right. Let's see if I can find some of these pictures of serums. Let's see here. I mean, we got. So we have this. This one I think was shared to me with Alana. Well, that's weird. I've never had the picture not load up.
Show that one.
There we go. Okay. So this right here, obviously this is just an artist rendering. So we probably want to talk maybe something like this. Oops, what's going on?
Yeah, that would be Cyborg. Just like that. Yep.
Right. This may be like a dulce bass.
Mm-hmm. That'd be a dulce bass.
This they stick these things under the fingernails. Some kind of torture machine. Obviously, that's Halo.
That's comes from Project Montauk with the torture machine.
Okay.
Yeah. That's
this is what some Milabs claim they look like when they're on mission. Is that Lincoln? Is that what you sort of look like?
Mm-hmm. Like, he said, yes, that's very similar what I look like when I'm on the mission.
And how tall are you?
A little bit taller than that. Not much taller than that picture.
Okay, so do you have any information about this?
About that cyborg?
Yeah, this one.
Is that a cyborg? Do you know his name?
I don't know. I don't know anything. This was just somebody. My lab had a memory.
He says he doesn't look familiar to him.
The little visor like that.
He said he's seen the equipment, but this cyborg don't look familiar to him. He says he's not part of my crew.
Okay,
he
different.
Looks Nazi.
Okay,
is what he told me.
Certain type of weapons.
Mm-hmm.
Any of these seem familiar?
He said yes. He said we also use a lot of alien weaponry as well. We found a lot of their weaponry in other planets. Also, I found a lot of alien weaponry in Alaska as well on some of the missions that I've been with you with Sabretooth.
Okay, so are there actually cloning labs that look like this? They have tanks and they have grow.
Yes, that is accurate.
Because I know a lot of artists, so they might be tapping into remote viewing actual facilities when they come up with these artwork designs.
He said yes. That's when they're doing a lot of their cloning, and they do a lot of cloning in their basements.
They're domes, you mean, not their basements?
Yeah, their domes.
It sounds like they have a under their houses. Okay, so this is supposedly what Anthony Zender looks like, but he's not here with us to confirm. I guess this is one of the weapons. Does that look familiar, Lincoln?
That's one of the weapons that I use, yes.
What is it? What type of weapon is that?
He says it's a laser.
Okay. So typically you use lasers, you use rail guns?
Yes.
What other weapons are there? Other than, I guess, typical bullets, projectile bullets, but I don't think you probably use those weapons.
He says you also use sniper weapons as well. Snipers, lasers, gas bombs, smoke bombs. Also a lot of nanotechnology guns as well.
Okay. Do some of these bases look super high tech like this?
He said they're very advanced. Yes, they do look a lot like that.
Okay. Some of this like Dark Fleet kind of stuff.
He said some of their technologies they use does look kind of darkly. He said we stole a lot of their technologies,
Yeah.
confiscated them.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's a Terminator movie. So I guess as far as super soldier is concerned, they don't actually have this body armor like the exoskeleton you see from DARPA. They don't need this. They're already, their bones are already strong enough to not even need any of that stuff.
He said yes, that's true.
Can you describe the contents of their actual bones? Are they is it type of metal or do they have something more advanced?
Well,
Or is it actual regular bone, human bone?
he said no, it's not a regular bone. It's basically nanotechnology.
You mean femto technology?
Yeah, Thinto, that's what I was thinking.
Okay. All right. So when the person goes through the shape-shifting process and they're actually like, they're not actually going to be in their own body when the super soldier comes to. They're like outside their body.
That's
And
correct.
Do they stay outside their body the entire time when this super soldier takes over?
Yes.
So when the super soldier is returned back to its normal form, I guess if you would call it normal, whatever normal is, what happens to the memories of the super soldier? Does that just get sucked out?
No, he said the memories get recorded in an AI computer. So you look at some of these AI computers, sort of like Tyler. That is actually an AI from an actual human brain. It's actually taken in multiple types of memories, sometimes human brain, sometimes even cyborg and human brain. That's what you're interfacing with. That's what he's saying.
Okay.
So they hook them up to those types of computers like Tyler. They hook them up to M.O.B. Different types of ships as well.
All right. So at that point, so none of these super soldiers are actually probably going. The people, civilians that have been put through these projects, chances are they're probably not going to be able to recover their memories by accident because the memories are being extracted into an AI. And then afterward, the soul goes back into the body, the astral form.
Yes, that's correct.
Do they give the person that's had this treatment done to them, did they give them any injections to help with the transition once they put them back into their civilian form?
That's correct, yes.
And what are these drugs? What do they do?
Well, they're sort of like, some of them are like steroids. And then some of them retrieve some of the memories that was taken from AI. And then that takes them back to their civilian life. And some of them have to be regenerated because a lot of them sometimes don't survive the process. So they got to be regenerated.
What do you mean? They die when they shapeshift, or they die when they're on mission?
They die coming back as civilians. Some of them do.
Oh, so when they shapeshift them back into a civilian,
A human, yeah, human form.
Why is it? Why do they have more trouble shapeshifting them back into the human form than? So
yeah,
why is that?
It's usually always the opposite because they're coming back to reality and they don't know the difference between reality and AI, or reality and being a clone, or reality being in some type of AI simulation because they think it's real, on a project. Yeah.
So
They're-
Lincoln, do you have do they do this process to you where they take you out of your civilian life and then you turn into a super soldier?
He says, yes, I'm actually very used to it by now. My body adjusts just fine. At first, I had a struggle, and then they had to put me back in the tank and then regenerate me multiple times when I first started, is what he's telling me.
Okay. What are the side effects of this process? So other than the fact that you probably don't have any missing time, I'm assuming that because they use the time portal technology, and you might have a few needle marks, but what are their side effects? How would somebody know that they've been put through this process?
Some of the side effects are having trouble. Sometimes I have a trouble eating. Sometimes I have trouble thinking straight. Especially with the MK Ultra, that's a really hard project to go through. Like if you were taken to the Nazi base, every side effect is different with every process. Some people said that they've claimed where people have thrown up like white stuff. Some people thrown up black stuff. Sometimes even PPAI come up a lot of times. It just all depends on how healthy your body is and how your body reacts to the medications and reacts to the time travel and also the shape-shifting abilities. So every project is different based on how they're going to react with every different types of projects, is what he's saying.
Okay, thank you, Adrian. So is there any other information you want to share about this process of turning into a super soldier?
Well, he said he says it's a very simple process due to the well-known technologies that we have today, part of Project Montauk, Project Monarch. Usually we get a lot of our we've got a lot of our information from the Dark Fleet because we confiscated a lot of their technologies. And with our scientists that we have today, they really know how the body and the mind and the DNA works. As before, a long time ago, when we used to do these types of projects, a lot of people didn't survive a lot of these projects, just like Project Montauk when they came out. Not a lot of people didn't come out surviving because they couldn't take the MK Ultra and all that. So, but they have more advanced technology now where they don't have to go through a lot of regenerating and all that stuff. A lot of times, sort of like with you, when you went through Project Abandonment, you went through the same thing, but rather than fixing you, they just kind of threw you in the Project Abandonment because some of your commands and operations and operators somehow couldn't fix a lot of your commands and the things that they wanted to do with you that they're actually doing with Lincoln Clay right now. Or they would actually be doing that to you right now, and you would actually be not living so much of a civilian life. You'd be living more like Lincoln Clay, living in an underground base, just following basically their rules as an AI, cyborg.
All right, so it sounds like the handlers or the controllers, they must have done like a risk analysis, and they realized that if they just keeping me locked up, turning me into a cyborg back and forth, wasn't going to work. They had to allow me to live a civilian life, even though they erase all my memories, turn me.
That's what he's telling me.
And yeah, they shut down most of my abilities. In order for me not to rebel again.
That's correct. Yes. He said it's kind of a sad thing because there was a lot of failed experiments, and we would take them into multiple projects like shape-shifting ability. We would take them in different types of projects, like on Mars or Project certain projects that just would not take you with your genetics or your DNA, because no matter what they did, it was almost like a failed experiment. So they would have to keep throwing you in the pods, and then the regeneration tank, and then throw you back in Project Abandonment. Is what he's telling me. He
Right.
said he's seen it more and more with other super soldiers.
And that's where Project Surrogate comes into place, where they surrogate us into families. Okay. And I do want to mention
distraction,
I want to mention the audience members, when I talk about Sabretooth, that's my code name. I don't actually look like a Sabretooth tiger, if I'm not mistaken. Is that correct, Adrian? Can you confirm that?
He said yes, that is confirmed.
Could they shapeshift me into a Sabretooth tiger?
Yes. But that was one of the projects that they tried to do, but it didn't go the way that was planned. You know what I mean?
Can you explain what happened?
That was also red flagged in the Abandonment. So when they tried to shapeshift you into that, I guess your body kind of rebelled against that, and they had to do some repairs on your body, basically.
Oh, what did I do? Try to shred up some of those reptilian scientists?
He said yes. You attacked them viciously.
Wasn't a very cute cat, I guess.
Cool. He actually killed some of them.
Huh. Well, reptilian tastes like chicken. Well, anyway, I'm sure there's some reptilians that I don't want to say anything to offend them.
I'm sure they had to call in a lot of the M.I.Bs too.
All right. Okay. So, yeah, I certainly wouldn't put it past them to try to do something like that, especially if it's Umbrella Corporation, which is responsible for the zombie virus.
Yeah. Virus, Ouroboros virus.
Can Lincoln describe any other experiences that he might have had with Sabretooth? Maybe start off, does he actually remember what he looks like?
He says, you're asking, does Sabretooth remember what he looks like?
No, Lincoln. What does Sabretooth look like? Can you describe him?
Big, like me. Cyborg. He looks a little bit more advanced than me. Big giant machine guns like Rambo. They almost made him look like Rambo. And he, on his right side of his face, he also had it was like on the right side. I think it was the right side or the left, but they had like a biomechanic AI kind of thing on his face where he's able to actually shoot out lasers from that eye and actually scan people. And if you have any kind of picture to describe that, like how his face, but that's how they created him, with, they put some kind of chip in his eye, like a cyborg, sort of like a robot.
Well, this is from the movie Universal Soldier.
Yeah, like that.
Is the eyepiece actually under all the skin so you wouldn't see all this other stuff around it?
He said now that it's more advanced, it looks like that, but yeah, they've advanced it.
Okay. I want to see if
it doesn't look so much like a camera, on his eye.
Right.
Yeah.
Of course, this is a Universal Soldier.
See, that was the old technology that they used to have for Sabretooth.
All right. Does he have like any hair? A glass helmet?
He says yes, he does have hair, and he has sometimes he wears a ponytail that kind of hangs down like this, and he's kind of like bald on the sides, like a Nazi, And he has like a ponytail is what he's showing me.
Because you did a remote viewing session where you saw this clone that was, I assumed it was a clone. It was on a table in Area 51.
Mm-hmm.
He had white hair, which didn't make any sense because he had these huge muscles, a tall creature, 6'5", above that maybe. Yeah. And it had a tattoo that was a pyramid, the Illuminati eye pyramid with a swastika in the middle of it on his left arm.
Yes, that's correct.
Can you please tell me, Lincoln or Adrian, or what exactly this entity was?
The one that I saw? That's a good question. He said it was you in another parallel reality.
I don't understand. Why would I have a Nazi tattoo?
Well, you worked in a lot of the Nazi projects like Project Kruger. Sort of like the one with James, the one I told you about. That was basically you. You know, you worked in a lot of Nazi projects.
Right. All right.
That was your bad AI. But Sabretooth is a good AI, like Lincoln Clay, you know.
Yeah. Because apparently he had a lot of wires connected to it from his head into a computer. Why don't we talk a little bit about how they actually extract the memories? How are they able to do that? After they shapeshift the person into a super soldier.
They create something like a cord in the back of your neck, and they plug that cord into an AI, and they take the memories from that brain in that cord to the AI, and then they're able to interface with AI to abstract the memories, like defrag it. So it's like defragging, like fractured, like your soul becomes fractured, basically. So when you retrieve a memory, that's why when you retrieve a memory, say MyLab files, then every time you retrieve a memory, it fractures your soul, because that's just the way they set it up. It's like it's a part of your soul that was fractured, basically. If you're not a clone and you're actually the original and you have a soul, but now that clones have souls, it still causes a lot of fracturing, you know.
Okay. So here was sort of a memory that came forward a little during one of these remote viewing sessions. And there's this little triangle-like thing on the top of the head. Do you happen to have any information about this, Lincoln?
He said that pyramid almost looked like the 13 cube.
Yeah, but what you described is like this large box you walk inside of it.
Yeah, he says it was almost designed the same way as that pyramid. But that pyramid right there is one of the AIs that actually helps to retrieve memory or download memory or actually put memory inside of an AI. But it's also using a lot of things, like different types of things like time travel, different kinds of things. It's an AI.
Okay. Is there a way that Milabs could get their memories back by perhaps remote viewing this computer, or is that not how this is going to work?
He said it's possible, yes. But it depends, because some of that stuff is classified. Some of that stuff is part of, well, I can't say, but part of our commands is what he's saying. Excuse me.
Here's another rendering. The person's actually inside the pyramid. Is that more closer resemblance?
Yes.
So it's not something that really goes on top of the head. It's over the entire body.
That looks like the cube.
Well, that's not a cube. That's a pyramid.
Well, it looks like the cube, but because the cube almost looks like a pyramid, but it's more shaped as a pyramid than a cube. From what he's.
Why do they call it a cube if it's a pyramid?
That was just the name of the project, the 13th.
Okay.
Yeah. See,
and this was a mission when I was working with Kruger on Mars.
They changed a lot of their names because a lot of the people that they stole from the Dark Fleet, from their technologies, like the 13 Cube, The reason why they changed the names, he's telling me, is because they didn't want Dark Fleet knowing that they actually went to a different type of project that was actually using the same technologies that they were using. That's what he said. It was like a security thing. They would just change the name, you know.
On this mission on Mars, I was working with Kruger, and I apparently I had some kind of exoskeleton suit. Now this is the one from DARPA, and then my face is superimposed in that. Obviously, this is not a real picture of me. So the question is, why would they actually use these exoskeleton type suits on Mars?
The skeleton.
The exoskeleton.
Lincoln said, "I don't know," but he said, I've never have ever heard of those types of technologies. Like, I don't have a technology like that. Um, they were used for certain types of projects, specifically for Mars.
Have you ever worked for Kruger?
He said, "Yes, I have. I haven't worked with them, but I've worked helping with their super soldiers on different missions and projects." In other words, I didn't go on a mission for them, what he said. Specifically for them. I was one of their commanders.
Are the people at Kruger racist towards black people at all?
Very much so, yes.
Okay, I should maybe explain to the audience members what Kruger is. Kruger is a Milab, I guess, mercenary type group, sort of like a private corporation that is from, it was originally headed by Gabriel, it probably still is, Gabriel Kruger, who was worked with Adolf Hitler to create Nazi war machinery. And this was from the parallel reality where the Nazis won World War II and they took over the United States and set up New Germany or whatever the hell they called it. In that reality, they sent their super soldiers over to this reality and set up Kruger, which is more of like this private contracting. I'm assuming they might work with DARPA or the Dark Fleet or something. I don't know what their exact agenda is, but is this where James Jackson comes in place? Because you found this photo off of your software, which alleges that this was me. As I guess so we did some investigating, and apparently they actually took DNA from a Nazi soldier and then projected my consciousness into this clone.
Yes, that's correct.
All right. So we've described one process where they actually can shapeshift us using M.O.B, and another process where we have cloned avatars. Is that what this is?
Yes.
All right. So let's describe this. Well, first of all, let's go into what can you tell us about James Jackson?
Well, we discovered that James Jackson is also a clone, and he was a clone of James. And James Jackson also was one of the commanders, like very high rank commanders, having to do with working with Adolf Hitler. And Adolf, he also worked with some of their soldiers. Like, I don't know if he worked with Adolf Hitler that was the clone, or he actually worked with the real Adolf Hitler, but we know that the real one was actually a good guy, but then they cloned him, so we don't know if he's working with the actual clone. I think it was the actual clone he was working for at the time. And and he was basically, we know he was super soldier, and he was very tall and almost like had the ability like the Avatar. And so he was sent off on a lot of missions. I don't know if he's ever interfaced with Sabretooth or not. He probably has, because a lot of the super soldiers, they all kind of work together. But somehow we found out that Sargent Crow also had a connection with also James's I mean, not Sargent Crow. I'm sorry. The other cowboy um, was also part of that connection as well. Sargent Crow is actually his identity. This other cowboy that we were talking about, but he was actually friends with one of James's super soldiers in the Nazi Party. So I wouldn't be surprised it had a lot of connections with Project Kruger and a lot of the Nazis, and maybe possibly with the clone of Hitler, and actually the real Hitler. Because we know that the real Hitler is actually was one of the good Nazis that was supposed to be in that timeline, but somehow somebody changed that timeline, and now he's actually running Dark Fleet on the moon base. So
Who's running Dark Fleet on the moon?
Hitler.
Okay. That certainly could be the case. So
Yeah.
I've had people report to me they remote viewed Hitler, and they claim they see him in a Nazi military outfit, like a general's, whatever the generals would wear, and he's overlooking. He's in a spaceship looking out into space. But that's probably one of his clones. Anyway,
Mm-hmm.
but as far as going back to James Jackson, let's
Okay.
how did this begin? Because first of all, what happened? Did they just pull me aside? I guess they don't even ask me if I want to do it. They just decide to send me off to Nazi Germany. They make a
Yeah,
clone in the base and they send me back in time.
that's correct. Yeah, because he had to follow the commands. And as and then you asked that question. I think it was a couple of days. You asked that question. Why? How did they get a hold of my information or my DNA to actually work with the Nazis and things like that? And we were talking about that was part of the agencies and things like that, because they actually worked with from what Barb was saying, they worked with with Hitler, the agencies.
Now, was this actual Kruger that did this, or was this Lincoln Clay's group, Project Camelot, and that other organization you mentioned?
Let me ask Lincoln. He said no. Actually, it was Kruger.
All right. Why would Kruger send me back in time? I mean, obviously, you can. I don't think they want to try to change the timeline to win the war, or maybe they do. Are they still trying to win the war over here?
Oh, I know why they did it. It just came to me because they wanted you to put an end to Adolf Hitler's plan.
But I thought Gabriel Kruger worked with Adolf Hitler,
The
unless
real
the other parallel reality, not in this run.
Right. It was the real him, not the clone.
So the clone in this reality went crazy and decided to kill the Hebrews, and
That's right. Yep.
sterilized the people and this and that. Okay.
That makes more sense.
So I was sent back in time to, I mean, obviously Hitler's clone is still alive and kicking, apparently.
Mm-hmm.
Evidently I wasn't successful if I was sent back in time to kill him. Was that what you're suggesting?
Yes.
Well, since that didn't work, so this was a mission failure.
That was another mission failure, which is why they keep taking you back to your civilian. It keeps going back to Project Abandonment, and they're trying to figure out why. Why does this keep happening? You know what I mean?
Oh, well, why don't they just send Lincoln Clay? Oh, I guess because he's black. But it doesn't matter if he's black. They could just project his consciousness.
Yeah, he has VOG in him.
What?
Remote viewing influence. Lincoln Clay.
Because apparently in order to connect to one of these clones, they have to insert our own DNA into them. Yeah, so Lincoln Clay is less likely to rebel and do what he's told to do. Why don't they just make a clone of him that's obviously white? Because I'm not going to put that in a black Nazi uniform.
They haven't figured out a way yet.
Well, what about the Crow? They could send him back.
He said yes, they can. That would actually be something with Gabriel Kruger that we'd want to talk to about, to work with Sargent Crow.
Is there a way we can communicate with Gabriel Kruger?
Let me see if he's willing to come through here. He's off on a mission right now. That's what Sabretooth told me.
Well, could somebody please explain to me what their actual belief system is? Because I mean, from my perspective, a Nazi believes that we should, obviously they're highly racist, and of course they believe that they're the master race. So, does Kruger have any belief systems that differ from the Nazi party line?
He said yes.
In what way?
You mean as far as racism?
Yeah, sure. Why don't we start with that?
Okay. Believe it or not, he said he can't say this in an opening setting, but he wants to say that he is far from anybody that you know that is basically not racist, and he welcomes all super soldiers to work for his projects.
Gabriel Kruger?
Yes, but as opposed to a lot of the people that have been programmed with the Nazis and programmed with the real Hitler, they had to keep it kind of under the table that basically Gabriel Kruger is not racist, basically.
Oh, I see. So he has to surround himself with a bunch of racist people to maintain that appearance, keeping up appearance. Okay. Well, Lincoln, can you explain to the audience members some of the things that these Nazis, the way they treated you? Did they do anything that because of the color of your skin?
Yes, that's correct. That's why.
How did they treat you differently?
For Project Kruger.
Yeah.
Oh, they would make fun of him. They would call him names like very. I mean, I can't really say on air, but it'd be pretty nasty.
Okay, so let's go back to James Jackson. How long was? I guess I could say that was me. Apparently, how long was I doing this mission?
How long were you on the mission with Kruger?
Yeah, or in that form.
Okay. Bringing up 16 years.
So it would have had been like the very start of the Nazi Party.
Yeah. Oh, that's crazy.
And I don't think, I mean, what I've actually gone by the name of James Jackson, because that sounds like an Americanized name. Is that the name I actually went by?
No. You had multiple identities. You had about, let me see here. You had 12.
12 altogether. 12?
Mm-hmm.
What, when I was James Jackson?
12.
Or?
Yeah, 12 identities and different types of projects that you were working in.
Do you happen to have the name when I was this Nazi?
The real Nazi?
Yeah.
I'm trying to get it for you. I'm talking to him now. It's German. He's speaking German to me, but I don't understand it.
Can you speak German on camera? We'll try to translate it later.
If you looked at a list of names, he said that you're going to find it of German names in the military.
Is my first name James?
That's your civilian name, yes.
but not on this mission.
Not on the mission, no.
The reason I
But
mentioned that is because
he's speaking German to me, but I don't understand what he's saying.
can you repeat the German words? Are you able to do that?
I could try. Ich la ka ich la kasha, something like that.
Okay, you might need to brush up on your German. We'll work on that maybe next time. But
I don't speak German, so I don't know.
and unfortunately, I don't either. But apparently, I do.
Yeah,
I mean, so actually, I probably do speak German.
yeah, basically.
Well, can you ask Lincoln? Well, how come I'm not able to understand German? Is it the same thing with the memory wipes?
Yeah, it has a lot to do with your memory wipes and loss of memory when they wiped you. You had a lot of ability, like speak several languages, not just German, you know. Because
Right.
in those different types of countries and different projects, you had to speak it. You know what I mean? And projects too as well.
Mm.
So when you go through, say you go through the the institute I was telling you about, they teach you all that stuff and then reprogram your brain to remember all the languages that you remembered. You know, when you were on the project.
All right. Can you explain a little bit more about this other image? Your software claimed that this guy holding these looks like daisies or something. What's this about?
That was another clone that I discovered. Supposedly, this other clone is like you were in this timeline with this clone. You had a wife, and you took that photo to basically show your wife when you were on the mission. So
Well, this guy doesn't look anything like that other guy.
no, he's not. He's not the same clone.
How many clones did they send me back to Nazi Germany of me?
How many clones do you
Yeah,
have? 12?
12?
Yeah, about 12. Yeah,
And
that's
what
what
about this? What about this guy?
he was a little bit more higher rank. One of Hitler's secret weapons. Well, he sent you back in a lot of timelines with this super soldier.
So this is one of my clones as well.
Yeah, he was supposed to be like your future super soldier to bring back World War V or World War IV or something like that. But you went back in time with your other super soldier to change that timeline. I remember that in my dream, actually. That's pretty creepy. They actually have the real picture of that clone that wanted to take over, you know.
What was his role or goal, I should say?
He was going to be the new world order, basically the new Hitler.
So they want my clone to run Nazi Germany?
Yes.
I'm not racist at all. So do they program me to be racist?
For him, yes. But with the mind wiping and all that, and then the projects that they kind of threw away threw to the side, they just threw this one to the side because it didn't work. So.
Oh well, yeah. I could have told them that.
Back to Project Abandonment. They just keep on trying, don't they?
Well, so what was this guy's name?
Let's see.
And it says Getty Images. I mean, we probably could even do a search on this photo to find more specifically about it, because Getty Images are registered.
Yeah, it's just weird how they just randomly pop up sometimes, but that's what he's telling me.
All right.
I'm trying to get his name here. He was a sergeant. Or no, not a sergeant, commander. A chief.
Well, it looks like he's in the SS
Yeah, he was
based on
definitely
the
an
uniform.
SSP.
Not SSP, but SS. Well, maybe SSP too, but he's got SS uniform.
Yeah,
Trooper.
he was SSP too. He was in the Milabs. He had several different identities as well. His first identity, let's see. Elon comes to me. He
What,
goes
like
by
his first
Elon.
name? His first name is
Yeah.
Elon?
Uh-huh.
That doesn't sound like a typical German name.
That's not the German, that's the civilian. I don't know the German because I can't speak it, so.
So I'm living other civilian lives.
In our next video, I want to interpret the German. We're gonna channel again, and I want to do like the German encryption basic. I want to.
You want to try doing more of the German words.
Right? Yeah.
Okay.
So people can.
Well, was there anything else you wanted to go into about these images that we haven't covered yet?
What other questions do you have that we haven't covered?
Well, that pretty much is it. I mean,
Okay.
all I can really do is speculate. If I was to get my memories back as a super soldier, would I have memories back of these characters as well?
Yes, you will.
Well, how?
It'll be very quick.
But I mean, if I'm living 12 different identities as a Nazi and countless others, I mean, how is that going to affect my civilian life? If you
Well,
get
now that you're getting kind of an image, it kind of helps to interface with your AI. So when you go into you'll get an idea, like when you go into meditation or you try to retrieve it under hypnosis, you can kind of get a visual of what they look like, and then just kind of bring in a lot of those memories, what you'd be doing on that mission with that specific person. You know what I mean? And with those identities that we've discovered, we're going to discover the German, but we want to discover the civilian too. The 12 different types of German, identities.
Well, can you contact one of these clones and ask them if they have any messages for me or the audience members?
Yeah, sure. What one do you want?
How about this guy? You think he's got anything interesting to say?
Okay. His name is Elon. He said, "Hello, everyone." He says, "I want to thank everyone for allowing me to come on to speak with my experiences. I'm sorry, but my English is not so good because I speak German. I normally don't speak English. I also apologize that you do not know my real identities and names, but as far as you know, everything is classified underneath the German rules of me being who I am and what I do. But I also want to thank everyone for allowing me to come and speak on the behalf of my country and others who wish to seek out information about me and what I do. I am not so much of a speaker, but from what I can say is I want to thank you for allowing me to speak and to show that this is what's really going on. And I'm hoping that James himself, from what I see, can retrieve a lot of his memories so he can remember me as far as him going on a mission, whether it be in all types of different projects. I have worked with Kruger for a number of years, and my objective there at the first was good, but something went wrong with a lot of the programming that was part of the project Abandonment, so they had to do something with me at the time. So what they did is they decided that it was best that I worked for the Nazis and the party of the Dark Fleet. The idea for that was the future generation for me to come and to play the new role of Hitler, something that I did not looking forward to. I'm glad that the project has now failed, and that James, I feel very badly for being in Project Abandonment, is not something that is very good for him to be in. But in these cases, sometimes these things have happened to me as well. But I hope to do what I can to do to treat, to help others, and to retrieve whatever information that I can do to help. Thank you. I just like to leave you with this message with you and James. And if you would like to ask more questions about other projects that have come up, I'd be welcome to share with you on that as well. I know that it is a long, outstanding thing because due to the mind wiping of other super soldiers or German military Nazis has not been such a fun ride for us. And remotely influence is never fun as well because MK Ultra is one of the hardest things to break, especially for us German people and military officers that just do want to do the right thing, but not always the case.
What can you tell us about? Well, first of all, thank you for sharing. Appreciate that. Have you ever met Adolf Hitler?
He said, yes, I have many times.
And what is he like?
The real Adolf Hitler is a very nice guy. He wanted to come in and he wanted to show people that he wasn't an evil person, just like the stories of, in your religion, Lucifer. He was the same way, but the stories got mixed up when it came to Project Cabal. But it's the same concept with Adolf Hitler. When I worked with the clone, I had to play it off by following the commands and for future generations to what would come out of this would not have been a pretty thing. And I'm happy that it ended up the way it did. But no offense to you, James. I hope that someday, whatever project they put you in, it will not fail, but not for the wrong reasons. That is not the whole reason why we are here.
All right. What can you tell us about the Nazi Party? What was it like to be a Nazi officer?
That lifetime was not easy because we had to kill a lot of innocent people. A lot of innocent people suffered, and we were all about ourselves and all about power. We were very racist. And if you even think a moment about pulling away or pulling out of that belief system or belief structure, they would completely annihilate you. And it was not a very pretty lifetime. And it's not something that I wish upon someone to be forced into these projects as opposed to working for the clone of Adolf Hitler. And Adolf Hitler is now, as I speak, working with Lucifer on the moon. And they have cloned them multiple times in different parallel realities. So now we are dealing with a technology that goes far beyond our own comprehension when it comes to cloning. It's a whole new system that they have now, and they're using it to their advantage to take and to create a one world order.
Okay. In the parallel reality where the Nazis won World War II, Adolf Hitler personally killed Paul Serene, who is the head of Monarch Solutions, which is basically the most darkest, evilest organization on this planet, probably next to Umbrella. But
That's correct.
so how did this clone of Adolf actually emerge in our timeline? Who put it there?
At this time, we really don't know who put him there, but there are several different side projects within every project, like your Project Monarch. A lot of people think that Project Monarch put him there, just like they did when they created other clones of other people, and they paid off these other projects like Project Dulce, where they had the technologies to actually do it. Since we have confiscated a lot of their technologies, we're starting to discover who actually put him there, and actually why they put him there, and why they put him in power. But we do know that a lot of it comes to the ones you call the Illuminati.
So it almost sounds like Adolf Hitler at some point was replaced by a clone of Adolf, perhaps created by Monarch, because they looked into the future and they knew that Adolf, the original Adolf, would actually destroy Monarch Solutions.
That's correct.
So they created, what is this, a paradox in the timeline, I suppose? Well, can you, from your Nazi background, can you interpret how you foresee this all coming to an end? Do you see the Nazis coming out in the public saying, here we are, we're actually the good guys, through Kruger's group, or
The
what?
way it's going to come to an end is that the Nazis will eventually take over everything, and they will basically present themselves as the good people and that they should be worshipped, and Hitler will become the new god, and even possibly even the new AI god. They're going to continue this project to push what they want to do with me in this timeline, but I'm hoping that we can get some of these agencies like Gabriel Kruger, to stop and confiscate their technologies on how they're able to clone, and stop cloning these people, and actually stop the projects of what they started before with you, James.
All right. Well, I certainly wouldn't doubt that Monarch will be going back in time trying to stop that too. Well, hopefully something can be sorted out of all this.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Thank you, Elon. I appreciate that. Do you have any other final comments to the audience members?
Well, I just want to tell other people that I really am a good person, and I'm really fighting for what is right. But the power at B right now, the way it's going, is that we're trying to stop a lot of this Milab cloning and start using the Milab cloning for actually good purposes, and not trying to change timelines the way it should be. We're hoping that we can stop a lot of these wars that are going on, and less super soldiers. And once we have less cloning, we have less super soldiers. But the reason why there's super soldiers is because we're trying to shut down a lot of what's going on, just to prevent these things from happening.
Well, that's where Lincoln Clay is in charge of hundreds of thousands, maybe millions of super soldiers, clone ones, that is, right now.
Yes, that's correct. That's why they're putting them on the project.
But okay, this is like, all right. This is a lot more complicated and a lot more.
It goes deep from what he's telling.
And I was expecting, because I know there are a lot of people out there who under the thought or school of thought that super soldiers is just a creation of the United States Army or perhaps DARPA, but apparently that's only like a tiny portion of what's going on here.
That's right.
this is all very fascinating. Thank you, Adrian. I think we probably need to conclude because we're getting near the 2-hour mark, and I'm sure the audience members might be tired, or actually, I don't know. I think this information is extremely fascinating. We probably could do another whole show about this.
Okay.
So let's just go ahead and call that.
He
Call it in.
has so many other projects he wants to talk about, but I think we should maybe
All right.
save,
Well,
kind of give the food of thought for people to understand where it comes from, you know.
okay. But we'll go ahead and allow him to give one more final comment.
Okay. Yeah, he said, there's a lot I'd like to share. I don't even know where to start. And you're right, James, it does go a lot more deeper than what is expected. Even in some of my language, things that I could speak of I mean, it's easy for me to explain in the English language, but there were certain words, certain things in different projects that we used, keywords that we used in our projects to for certain types of missions. And it's very interesting. I can go into more depth with what my mission was and why I was going in the future to replace Adolf Hitler's clone, but I won't go into that information today. But there's a lot more that I would like to share.
Okay, thank you, Adrian. And Anthony Zinder, if you're watching this, we'll try to get you on here next time, hopefully. I say hopefully because I'm already backlogged in videos. By the time this is uploaded, it's definitely not going to be the day I say it's going to be. I apologize for that. I'm trying my best to get these videos ready as I can. Again, Adrian's website is forcevspower.com. There'll be a link for that in the description. My website, well, of course, supersoldiertalk.com, where this video and many other videos and some other content as well. Go check that website out as well. Visit neologicaltech.com to support the work that I do financially. So with that said, I'd like to thank you, Adrian.
And thank you, James. Thank you for having me on again.
On all these folks. Yeah, thank you all.
Visit our website, forceversuspower.com. Look forward to working with you.
Okay, and thank you, audience members. And until next time, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Please consider supporting Super Soldier Talk by purchasing your own Neo Meditation device. Your Neo Meditation device will help you reduce stress, integrate trauma, enhance intuition, enhance clairvoyance, and enhance creativity. Get yours now at www.neologicaltech.com.